Hello, so today is all about sewing. We already drafted this pattern. You see the link in the description. So now I'm just redrawing my armhole. I'm extending it by 1 inch and also connecting it to my sidelines. And then you'll be cutting that out. I'm going to be making this a reversible shirt. So I'm going to be using two fashion fabrics. You can just call it a lining and the main fabric, where I cut 4 of each piece of my pattern paper. 2 for a particular design and 2 for the other design. I also put seam allowances in different places I didn't put seam allowances in. So this is how it's supposed to be looking. Also for the back, I also put 1/2 inch seam allowances on the center back, the neck, the shoulder, and also the armhole. Now firstly, I'm just sewing in my darts for my back for this. You do that to all your 4 pieces. And then for my back also, I'm also going to be connecting the center seam with 1/2 inch. Please remember to press your fabric, because pressing it makes a whole lot of difference. And then you can see how it's going to be looking. Now we'll keep that aside, and onto the front. For our collar piece in the front, I actually placed some interfacing on it. Ironed in interfacing on it, and then I'll be connecting my side front with 1/2 inch, forming the princess bust line. After doing that, you give that a good press. I'm doing that for all my pieces, all my front pieces. Here you can see me placing my 2 front pieces together, and I'll be sewing with 1/2 inch, also sewing in where my collar notch is. I'm using my pattern as a guide. Remember to mark your notch exactly where your notch is. I also went in my notch by like 0.25 inches. I felt like I needed it a bit deeper, and I actually like that I went in. So if you're doing yours, I advise you go in as well. So I'm just marking all my allowances. This is when I've stitched it. You actually take out that notch piece so that when you turn it over, your pattern can lay flat. As you're doing this, your iron is meant to be your best friend, like literally be ironing straight up. I'm also taking out the excess fabric at the notch, so that's when I bring it out, it will form that pointy notch collar we know about. So this is it, looking so nice. You can see I've pressed it, and you can see how it's looking. This is how it's supposed to be looking. So this is one part of our front. So you do this, you form 2 of this to make your second part of your front. You just do this with your remaining front pieces. Now to connect the front to the back, I placed the back pattern front side facing, and then I also placed the same fabric facing each other. If you don't understand, you can pause the video. Now I'm sewing the shoulders of the same fabrics together separately. I sewed the brown shoulders together and then the yellows together separately, not together. You can see how I'm pointing it. This is after stitching. You also need to connect your shoulders, your neck piece, your collar piece by the seam, and then you just connect it with your sewing machine. I'm pinning it first so that taking it to the sewing machine will be easier, and you just sew a straight stitch of 1/2 inch. Now that shoulder seam we already sewed in. I'm making notches so that as well when you turn it out, it's going to lay flat. I'm making notches on the 4 shoulders we sewed in. Once that is done, when you flip it over, this is how it's supposed to be looking like. We have not connected our neck, so this is how it's supposed to be looking like. So now what you're going to be doing is you're going to open up just like I did here, and then you sew the yellow neckline with the yellow back. I'm sewing the yellow neckline with the yellow back, and then the brown neckline with the brown back. This is how it's supposed to be. And then after sewing, this is how it's supposed to be looking. You're meant to have like a cross shape where everything is laid out flat. Kindly pay attention to how I turn my fabric wrong side out. I'm trying to sew in our our armhole. This is how it's supposed to be. You're going to turn it out. If you've followed correctly, you're meant to be having something like this. And then I'm going to be making a stitch on the armhole on both sides, on both armholes. I'm going to be making a long stitch of 1/2 inch to form our armholes. After stitching that, I'm going to be also making notches, because you know our armhole is curvy, and if I don't make notches, when I turn it over, it won't lay flat. So to make it lay flat, you have to make notches on both armholes. Please, if you haven't drafted this pattern, I'm going to link a link in the description for the pattern drafting process. That's the part 1. Please go and watch that out, so you don't go and check that out, so you don't get lost in this. So you can see I'm just turning out my fabric, and once I turn it out, you can see our armhole is sewn and ready. It really looks gorgeous. So this is how the armhole is supposed to be looking. Please remember to press. So now let's just connect our side seams. So you can pay attention to how I'm connecting the side seams. I'm picking the, the side of the armhole of the front layer, and also the back layer. I'm sandwiching it together and then opening up the dress so it can give me a straight line. See the way I opened it up? So now I'm going to stitch on that straight line from the yellow and then connect to the brown fabric as well. Please, anything you don't understand, pause and watch it again. So I've done that and I'm turning it out, and you can see the side seams are connected, both front and back. There are no rough edges. They are connected and looking so smooth. So we're almost done with this gorgeous top. Now to hem this top, this is what we need to do. We're going to be turning the entire top inside out, and then with the hemline sandwiching each other, we are going to be sewing with a sewing allowance of 1 inch, which we already placed in while making the pattern. I'm going to be sewing that 1 inch across that line, but around the center back I'm going to be leaving a space of 3 inches. This 3 inches is to enable us to turn the top out back when we are done sewing. So after stitching that, I'm just cutting out the excess to avoid the bulk and to also enable pointy edges when we are done, when we turn it inside out. And you can see me here, I'm about to turn the entire top from that tiny hole. When you do this, you press your top, and after pressing your top, you just use your machine, or you can hand stitch that 3 inches seam allowance, that 3 inches hole space closed. Do well to really try as much as possible to reveal those pointy edges. That gives the very, very clean and nicely made look. Once you're done, you press. Once you're done pressing, this is how your top is supposed to be looking, front and back, gorgeous. So guys, that's it. I hope you love it. Please subscribe if you haven't. See you guys. Bye.